Here we go. Welcome everybody to the PAVEDOT Positive Podcast Leadership Talk. I'm the host, Marqus Davis.
My name is Tiffany Johnson.
And Tiffany, can you tell us a little about who you are, like where you were born, raised, and a little bit about your educational path?
I was born in Durham, North Carolina, raised here in Wilmington by both of my grandparents.
So you've been in Wilmington the whole time?
Yes.
Okay, Wilmington.
Most of the time. 1990.
Most
My grandfather retired from Con Edison in New York.
Mm-hmm.
He was a golfer, so we moved to Wilmington for him to be able to play golf.
Okay, where did you go to school here in Wilmington?
I went elementary, Mary C. Williams Elementary.
Okay, and after that is Williston. And then
New Hanover
Wildcats.
Yes, and then my last 2 years I transferred to Ashley when they built the school. So I was a part of the first graduating class.
Oh yeah,
at
when was that school built?
The school was built in 2001.
Come on, you don't know your graduation class?
Yes, I do. I graduated in 2003. The school was
there
built.
It is.
The
there
school
she goes.
Built
there she goes.
before my graduation year. So yeah.
All right, and then so where did you go to? Did you continue education after high school?
So after high school, I went to St. Augustine's College in Raleigh for
St. Augustine.
St.
Aul. Yeah, we played them in football.
Yeah,
we dust them all.
So I went there for 3 years, and then I transferred to Johnson C. Smith University, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology.
So, what made you choose criminology as a major?
Okay, so when I attended St. Augustine's College, my concentration was sociology. So when I decided that I was transferring and I wanted to move to Charlotte, and Johnson C. Smith accepted me, they no longer had the sociology concentration as an option. So the closest concentration that I could take that correlated with sociology was criminology. So I got to get a little mix of the social aspect of the concentration, the psychological aspect of it, and the legal aspect. So basically, criminology is the study of the criminal mind. That's one of my degrees. While I was attending Johnson C. Smith, I was working for Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. And my position at Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools was I was a site coordinator for the after-school program there. So I did probably like 30 hours a week there. So that's basically how I got in the education field. I was with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools for about 4 years, and then I ended up leaving, and I went to a nonprofit school called First Presbyterian Church. It's located right uptown, down the street from the Panther Stadium.
Okay.
So I worked there for 2 years. I was in school just taking classes in the education field just to, strengthen my knowledge. After those 2 years, I moved back to Wilmington shortly after my mother passing. And when I first came back to Wilmington, my heart was trying to lead me towards doing something in my field. However, that wasn't God's plan for me. So I ended up applying for a position at Child Care Network, which off of 41st Street, which is my current center that I'm at now.
What was that position?
The position I applied for was for a toddler room teacher.
In the toddler
room.
Bottom.
So basically, I worked in the toddler room for a year at 41st Street, and then I transferred to the Lennon Drive location. And when I went to Lennon Drive, I did NC Pre-K. So I was an assistant in that class. And in order to work in that class, I had to go back to school to further my education more, because my degree is outside of the education field. So I said, well, if I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to go back and gain something out of me going. So I took the Administration 1 and Administration 2 course. 3 months later, I got a call back. I got a call from my old director, Crystal White, who was in need of an education coordinator.
So you wasn't a student and working at the same time? You left the child care?
No, I was a student and working at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Respect the process. I understand that. That's good. That's good. You were determined to become better than where you were.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, makes sense.
Always.
Keep going.
So Crystal gave me a call and said that she was in need for an education coordinator. And because I had administration 1 and 2, she thought I would be a good candidate for it. So I transferred back at 41st Street. I worked as the education coordinator for 3 months, and then Crystal basically came out and told me, okay, Tiffany, let's be real. I want to leave, and I know how you are, I know how you work, and I really think that would be a good candidate to take over my position.
Who you are and how you work. I like those.
When I came to work, I did my job. I did whatever I had to do to make sure that the children had a good experience, a positive experience. I was always productive at anything that I did, any task that was given to me. Crystal knew me, from back in the day as well, so she knew where I came from and the type of personality that I had. So and then basically with her seeing me work for these 3 months as an education coordinator, she saw what responsibilities I could easily take on and how I completed all my tasks.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that's it. That's what I wanted to hear. I think it's important to know who the leader is and where it came from, and then that also gets respect on a lot of levels. So that's why I wanted you to see that, because you can have, your assistant listening like, well, wow, she's a hard worker. That's how it is. It wasn't just given to her. You know what I mean? And everybody can respect that process. For sure. So now that you're here, were you done telling about?
Oh, well, no. I wasn't quite done.
No. Oh, yeah.
It's a long story. So she trained me for 2 months in preparation to becoming the director, so that when she gave her notice, she was already vouching, hey, this girl already knows how to do, all the job requirements. I've trained her or whatnot. So she ended up doing that, and I ended up becoming the director. But I co-directed because there was another young lady that worked with me as the AD, and they didn't just want to bump me up over her, because the education coordinator position is a step lower than the AD position. So they felt bad. So they made us co-directors. She would still have her same responsibilities, and I would still take on the same workload. Eventually, I ended up just being the director. I would say that was probably like less than a year when, she ended up leaving the company. And so basically, I would say I was with the company for 3 years, and I went from tile room teacher to NC Pre-K to director, and then now I'm going in my 5th year, and I just took on another role as the lead director for the district, District 15, as well as District 7. So I oversee all the schools in both of those regions. Oh,
well, it is an honor to have you here, director of the region. All right, a little excited. All right, well, I'm pretty sure you deserve all of that. And now, with your position as lead, we can get into what the podcast is all about. It's about positive leadership. And first, you have to identify what a leader is to you. And you, as a director, why are you important? Or what's your vision for leading?
Okay, so this is how I used to explain it to my staff. I consider this building a beehive, and my staff are my bees. And the object and the goal for bees is to make honey.
Yeah.
And
for the queen bee.
Oh yeah, I'm listening. And they're constantly trying to produce that honey, doing whatever they can, to get the ultimate goal. And my job is just basically to oversee, to help, to guide them through the whole entire process, so that we come out with the best product.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you can say bees, and you can say a team. I use sports for a lot of things that I'm doing, even with this podcast. But sports prepares kids for life, to work, to come and be a toddler teacher,
Exactly.
and one day a director like you. You can see all the steps in between. But the important thing for the person in lead is their responsibility is to guide to success.
Exactly.
And identifying that. And so you will say you on the level, the Child Care Network, correct?
Yes.
What is your objective for Child Care Network? What do you want each center to have? Is it about the staffers, the kids,
I
community?
want community is important, but the overall goal for me, as far as like looking at the company, I want all of us to be able to provide an enriching experience for the children. Like for instance, we have 2 NC pre-K classrooms at my site, and I always want those kids to leave the center before they go to kindergarten to know that they got so much out of what they've learned, what we instilled in them, so that when they go to school, they know their numbers, they know their colors, they know how to write their name. Like, we're the foundation for these kids. So I really want for all our schools to be able to provide that enriching environment so that that foundation is continuously passed on, and then they could be like, oh, hey, my child went to Child Care Network. This is...
Okay, and having that foundation is important because roadblocks will come up where your plan and your purpose and even the mission might be in jeopardy. So could you give us an example of a time where you had a roadblock but you continue to stay on top?
So my very first day walking in as the director, I just knew I was going to have the best day ever. I came in that morning and I had a phone call. One of our school buses that picked up our NC pre-K children flipped over on Dawson Street.
The whole bus flipped?
Yes.
Wow.
A woman ran the light and hit the bus, and the bus flipped over.
With kids?
With kids. We had about 12 kids on the bus.
Wow.
So off gates, I had to think, what am I going to do? So first thing I did was contact my district manager. I told her what happened, and she told me to go ahead and start contacting the families. So
everybody was safe?
Don't know yet.
Uh-oh.
Don't know. So my EC coordinator at the time was sitting up front. I had her contact the families, and I went ahead and drove to the scene of the accident. I'm driving there. I'm nervous because I don't know what to expect. And as soon as I get to the scene, I see the bus. And all I wanted to do was cry. But I couldn't, because I had to have that straight face,
Leader.
I had to be that leader. So I go and park my car, and I go to the ambulance because none of the children were on the bus, and the driver was not on the bus. Walked to the ambulance, and I told them who I was, and they opened the back of the ambulance, and all the children were sitting in the back with fireman hats on, and they were smiling.
Right.
Not one child had one single scratch on them. My bus driver did, though. She was hurt really badly from the accident. So her right shoulder to her, to her hand was damaged. It was all like cut up from the glass and stuff. So you could see the meat and bones and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot. But had some parents come to the scene. I had to call some parents while I was at the scene because the parents had to give permission for the kids to get checked out at the hospital. Some parents didn't want to. I had to do incident reports for all the kids. Just basically be that leader.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I came back to the center, we had some parents with a lot of questions. I had to get with the risk management team for the company and, fill out all this documentation about the accident. really just tried to make everybody feel reassured.
And then also as a leader, you instantly think you use these moments to get better. So I know you was thinking of ways to prevent this from happening again. Especially when you say like your driver, you know, what's going on with the driver's seat? Why was I the only person affected? Were it seat belts on for every kid in there? You know, you're going straight into prevention mode.
Exactly. A lot of times when I have staff and they might have like an issue amongst each other or even an issue with me, I bring them in my office, I close the door, and I tell them, this is your time to hash it out. Everything you got to say is going to stay in this room. When you leave out, it's over with. We're moving forward.
Yeah, and when you say women, I just really want to know a little detail about what do you think the dynamics that make women
do that?
What's happening when you say it's all women in here? You got to understand. I wish it was a man. What would be different? What's different when it's all women?
We all have cycles.
Oh, okay.
We all have cycles. We all have personalities. Personalities are different, generally for just people.
But you would think it'll be more understanding between the sexes. You understand?
Not really, because a lot of women have attitudes and
there's not a lot of understanding going on.
No, it's
but
not.
I guess it's the yin and the yang. You know, you have to have that option.
I wish we did, because then it would balance.
Well, it's no need to wish when you're in charge. You just make it happen.
You're right.
Yeah, you're making it happen.
I need some more men to apply with those early childhood degrees.
Oh, there it is. All the men listening. You know what I mean? Here they come. They coming. So what would you have to have men things for them to do, right? If you're saying if it's a sex thing, like a man and a woman, job descriptions, keep it around, because I know it's the same issue in the school system. You feel like you'll go to a school and you'll see a lot of women at the school system, and you might see a PE coach. I feel like it's the same everywhere. And what could you do?
A bias against men?
I think it's just what do you feel comfortable doing if you're choosing your job?
Say for instance, if I have a guy who wants to be employed here, if they have the right education, their background's clear, they can work in any classroom they want. Any classroom that they want to concentrate on, whether it's in the infant room, whether it's in the 3-year-old room, or even if it's just being an after-school teacher or a bus driver, I would give them the same responsibilities that I would give another woman. It's just the only difference between men and women. Women like to talk a lot. So, say for instance, if I direct someone to do a task and they don't like that task, what they're going to do is go talk to the employee next door to them on the playground.
This is a little bonus question I had on here about social media. How does that affect? Do women go and talk on social media?
Well, with our company, they're not allowed to disclose any information that happens at work on social media. It's like an automatic termination. Yeah. Like we have people in our corporate office who looks at stuff like that. Wow. So anything affiliated.
This might need to be highlighted. I think a lot of people underestimate the power of social media, how people are using it to evaluate your character. Yeah, I feel like it's a free wild, wild west out there, and everybody like, man, independence, I can do this, I can do that. Hey, but we're looking at you, and if you want to...
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what, to be honest with you, Mark, a lot of times when I'm hiring for my center, I will go on Facebook and look at the candidate's profile picture just to see if it's public or non-public, or just see what kind of stuff I can see if it's non-public. So it kind of gives me an idea of who this person is before they even walk in the door.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the director of the district saying that she looks at the social media. So if anybody hearing that, that's knowledge in itself, man. Clean it up.
Exactly.
You know, be presentable. It's always one of those things where it's like, you go to church, you're going to wear certain things. You go to a basketball game, you're going to wear certain. Same thing with your social media. Just be aware of it. Well, it was good talking with you. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy person. You got a lot of people to direct. And we're going to get this out in the atmosphere right here.
It was nice talking to you, too. You're welcome.
All right.